Hello, and welcome to the Get Better Therapy channel. My name is Ali Duran, and I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, and today we are going to be talking about how to effectively communicate your feelings and needs with others. But first, let's talk about the importance of expressing your feelings and needs. Sharing our feelings and needs with others can feel vulnerable and even scary at times. Many people even prefer to repress or ignore their feelings just so that they don't have to communicate them with others. The problem with this is that none of us are mind readers. We cannot expect others to automatically know how we feel or what we need. And we certainly can't blame them for something that they never even knew was an issue to begin with. It is our responsibility to make our feelings and needs clear. On the other hand, many people are great at telling others all about their feelings and needs, but do so in ineffective ways. This may involve raising their voice, using name-calling or cursing, or even pointing the blame at others. When we do things like this, it can easily snowball into a major conflict. Talking about feelings calmly and respectfully is not an easy thing to do, but it is important. Doing so helps others empathize and understand us better. As an added bonus, it also makes it more likely that we will get our needs met. Additionally, it will make it easier for both of you to be genuine and vulnerable with one another moving forward. Now, in an ideal world, others would always respond to our feelings and needs by validating our emotions and showing enthusiasm about supporting us. However, the reality is that when we share our feelings and needs, it is not always well received. Sometimes people become defensive and aren't able to hear or understand what we are saying. Sometimes they may even respond by moving into attack mode. This can be disheartening and difficult to navigate. As much as I wish I could tell you that I had a way to ensure that this never happens, I don't. Unfortunately, we cannot control other people. We can only control ourselves. So today, I'm going to teach you a technique that instead increases the likelihood that someone will be willing and able to hear you and support you in meeting your needs. Now, before you can learn about I statements, you first need to understand what a you statement is. You statements are when you use the word you when talking about your own feelings and needs. By doing so, we make it about the other person, usually making the other person feel attacked, blamed, and responsible for fixing your feelings or problems. The problem with this is that as human beings, it is in our DNA to become defensive and or fight back when we feel threatened or attacked. Our fight-flight system kicks in, and the part of the brain that thinks rationally, our prefrontal cortex, goes out the window. The person you are communicating with will consequently be unable to really hear, understand, or empathize with you. Additionally, they may move into self-protection mode and tune you out, distance themselves, or attack back. It is human instinct. So instead, we need to use I statements. With I statements, we are taking ownership of our own feelings and needs without making assumptions about others. This lowers the other person's defenses, making it easier for them to hear, empathize, and understand you. This helps them recognize how they can better support you, while also making them more willing to help meet your needs, even if it means adjusting their own behavior to do so. Respectful, controlled expressions of emotion and calm requests for change can make all the difference. So let's get into how to do this. Let's start off with the I statement. The formula itself is pretty simple. You just need to share your feeling, why you're feeling that way, and what you are needing. Now keep in mind that it always helps if you form your request in a polite way. For example, saying please. Now if we put it all together, this should look something like, I am feeling blank because of blank, and would really appreciate it if blank. Notice how there are no you statements in this formula. We are keeping it to our own feelings, thoughts, and behaviors. Now this alone can be pretty effective, but I find that it is even more effective when you add what I call a fluff sandwich. Fluff is all that stuff that makes people feel warm and cozy inside. This could be validating their feelings or maybe their perspective. This could be emphasizing what you really appreciate about them or what they're doing well. This could be talking about how your request will ultimately benefit the both of you. The point is that we are taking the time to show them that we still care about them despite our current feelings about the situation. And like bread in any good sandwich, you need to have fluff on both sides of your I statement, at the beginning and at the end. This will make it much easier for others to swallow your I statement, even if it feels vulnerable to do so. So altogether, this will look a little bit like some fluff, then your feeling, your reason for the feeling, your request, and then some extra fluff to top it off. You also want to be mindful of your tone and body language as you deliver this statement. Now let's put this into practice. Let's say it's late at night on a Monday. I just got finished doing the dishes, and I take a quick break to go brush my teeth. I then come back to the kitchen to get a glass of water, and lo and behold, there are more dishes in the sink. In the few minutes I was gone, my husband had added a dirty plate that somehow got missed into the sink. I immediately feel frustrated and go to find him in the living room and say, "You are so inconsiderate. I can't believe you left the dishes in the sink. You clearly don't care about me at all." As I'm sure you can guess, my husband is stunned and feels attacked, consequently going on the defensive by responding, "You're crazy. What are you even talking about? You're the one who forgot to check for dishes in the living room." At this point, he is understandably unable to hear me and is focused on protecting himself. Now let's look at this same situation while using I statements and fluff sandwiches. I'm going to basically communicate the same thing, but in a much calmer and respectful way that will increase my chances of my husband hearing me and being willing to meet my needs. So when I begin to feel the frustration, maybe I pause and take a few deep breaths before finding my husband. Then when I'm ready to talk, I let him know, "Hey baby, I really appreciate that you cooked dinner tonight. If I'm being entirely honest, I was super exhausted after work today, and there was no way I was going to have the energy to cook. That being said, I need to let you know that I'm feeling a bit frustrated. I just spent the last 30 minutes washing all the dishes and was really excited to begin winding down so that we can watch our favorite show together. But when I got back from brushing my teeth, I noticed that there were more dishes in the sink, and now I have to go back to washing dishes. In the future, if you find additional dishes after I have washed everything in the sink, I would really appreciate it if you could rinse the dish and then add it to the dishwasher. That way we can have time to wind down and enjoy our time together before going to bed." Now, because I was calm, clearly communicated my feelings, reasons, and needs, and wrapped it all up in a fluff sandwich, my husband is going to feel far less defensive. He will then be able to better hear me out and will feel much more eager to meet my needs. I still communicated what was on my mind, but got much better results using an I statement and fluff sandwich. Now, you may have noticed that there were a few U's in my I statement. The important thing to note when using this skill is that whenever you use the word you are doing so in a way that is calm and respectful, while staying focused on your own thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, without making any assumptions about your partner. Let your partner communicate their own thoughts, feelings, and needs. All you are responsible for is yourself. Now, for many of you, this is an entirely new skill, so please keep in mind that it is going to feel pretty unnatural and maybe even robotic at first. It's going to take a while for this to become your new default mode for communication. So my challenge to you is to practice, practice, practice. Train your brain to think and communicate differently. Stick to using the formula at first. You might want to role play using the skill with someone you trust, or you can even write down your I statement and fluff sandwich before having a serious conversation with others. It's going to take a while before it starts to feel natural. Then, when it becomes easier to include all the bases we covered today, feel free to experiment with making this your own. This is when you can start to use your own natural and preferred way of speaking while using I statements. Remember to be patient and kind with yourself during this process, though. This is a lot easier said than done. So there you have it. I statements, and fluff sandwiches. Thank you again for joining us at Get Better Therapy. And if you want more content like this, don't forget to like and subscribe. Please also don't hesitate to drop a comment below. I would love to hear what your favorite tip of the day was, or if you can relate to this topic at all, or if you have any suggestions on questions or topics I can cover in future videos. Remember, it only takes a small step to move in the right direction of getting better.